Baseball is a game of tradition. The ceremonial first pitch, the ballpark food, the take me out to the ball game sung at Wrigley Field.
It's the bottom of the 7th inning, the last chance to order beer.
But in Denver, baseball tradition is defined a little bit differently. It's 162 games of slogging through another grueling season. It's the offense trying to outslug their own pitching staff. It's watching the opposing team treat themselves to a nice stat padding series, which is where we come in. Those days are gone. Those days are done. Those days are behind us. The time is now for the Rockies to take the next step. We're going to heavily invest in revamping our approach to pitchers. We're going to focus on being more of a defensive-minded roster. We're going to be smart in our contract negotiations and our prospect management. No gimmicks, no shortcuts, just savvy baseball strategy. Something that the current Rockies administration and front office is having a lot of trouble doing. So welcome everyone to the Colorado Rockies franchise. Welcome everyone to a brand new series for MLB The Show 25's Franchise Mode. I'm Gold Glover 9. You can call me Goldie. It doesn't really matter that much to me, but before you know it, you're actually going to be calling me GM of the Year as we aim to turn around a back-to-back 100-loss team in the Colorado Rockies. So if you're ready for this long-haul series, please consider smacking that like button around just like opposing hitters like to smack our pitchers around. I want to see that thumbs up number higher than our team ERA. Sound good? I think we can make a deal? All right, sounds good. Also, if you're new here, please also consider subscribing if you find an interest in any of my content here. I do a lot of franchise and dynasty related content on this channel, so you don't want to miss it if you're a fan of that style of series. So I really want to dive into gameplay and just get the series started, but I feel it's really important to get a better feel for this roster, get a better feel for this team, and kind of the settings that I like to use for my franchise modes. So let's just go ahead and dive straight in. We got the Rockies set up here. We are going to turn GM contracts off. We'll do fantasy draft off. CP roster control off. Trading will be turned on, but I am going to turn down the sliders for trade frequency because there are a ton of trades going on right now. It's all over X. It's all over YouTube. People talking about it on Reddit. Trade logic seems to be broken. There is a ton of trades happening that are just out of this world. You wouldn't believe it. It's like, whoa, Juan Soto's getting traded. He just signed a big, huge contract with the Mets. What are the Mets doing? Why would they do that? Just some goofy stuff. They said they changed trade logic, but I think they might have broke it in the trading. So hopefully there's some sort of patch down the road here because it definitely needs it. But we're going to leave it on because I do like the immersion level of that. CPU teams making trades with one another. But again, we're going to move that slider down so it doesn't get too crazy. So ignore budgets will be turned off because we do like to manage within the budgets. Forced trades will be off. DH is on and extra inning runner is on. To keep immersion, keeping this thing realistic, we're going to go ahead and leave that on. I'll also turn GM tasks to manual because I do like to get my hand involved in every single area and facet of the franchise. So we'll leave all that stuff on and go ahead and advance. And normally I don't like to do critical situations, but we are going to turn this on this season for the Rockies franchise here. And I think the earliest inning we'll play is the 5th, just because I think it adds to a little bit more storyline. And I think that's the biggest piece that I want to drive here in this franchise series this season. More storylines, more critical moments, critical situations, whatever you want to call them. And we'll just set those conditions and continue. So we will start in spring training just because, again, I want to build up some of these player profiles and get you guys familiar with some of the players that I'm eyeing in this franchise series. Some other guys that we might not talk about, we probably are not going to be talking about Connor Van Scoyoc or Tanner Gordon or any of these D potential guys. Maybe potentially down the road, maybe we might want to talk about Juan Mejia. I'm not sure. Maybe Evan Justice. He's a C potential. Maybe he gets good, bro. But we're not going to do that for this little deep dive. What I really want to do is kind of talk about the players that are catching my eye, and I think that you should probably pay attention to as we move forward in this franchise series. So let's go ahead and talk about Brenton Doyle and Ezequiel Tovar. Kind of my goal for this franchise series, my expectations for what I'm trying to build here. I want this Rockies team to be built on defense, speed, and pitching. I think that's going to be really, really valuable for what we're trying to do and what we're trying to build. You know that Coors Field is a offensively based stadium, right? There's so many runs that are scored. I think back to the Kansas City Royals that won the World Series in 2015. Like, that's the style of team that I think we need to be. We need to become that, because we're not going to be able to outspend the Dodgers. The Diamondbacks are pretty good as it is right now. They got a good mix of young and old, right? So D-backs, Dodgers, the Padres have a good farm system too right now. So it's going to be tough for years to come. So for us, knowing that we're not going to be able to outspend those teams, we got to play within our budgets. We got to do the smart, savvy baseball moves. So the good thing is we already have two cornerstone pieces that are kind of fitting that mold in Brenton Doyle and Ezequiel Tovar. There's other players here that I kind of like that I'll talk about, but these guys really fit the bill. They're young, good potential right now, mid-80s player. I like what they're bringing to the table. So Brenton Doyle, not even 2 years of MLB service quite yet, but you see just what he's accomplished. Back-to-back Gold Glove Award winners in 23 and 24. Hopefully that shoots for a third straight in 2025. But he's got what we're looking for with the speed, the defense, the contact numbers, and the power. Those are only going to go up, I believe. I mean, you look at what he did last year. 23 home runs, 10 in his rookie season. He obviously had a huge progression. I think the OBP's got to be a little bit better if he wants to be a top of the order guy. But, you know, I will take this from a 25-year-old that's still going to continue to progress. So I'm excited about Brenton Doyle. He fits what we're trying to build here. I don't see myself ever getting rid of Brenton Doyle. Maybe when he's 33, maybe if he sticks around that long, something like that, a trade comes along, it makes sense for us to move on from him. But for all intents and purposes here, we are not looking to trade away Brenton Doyle. He's a cornerstone piece. Same thing here with Ezequiel Tovar, 23 years old, 83 overall, really good fielding numbers at 98, but the arm is a little lacking for a shortstop. Maybe he's got secondary position eligibility down the road as a second baseman. I mean, do you deal with the arm? Do you just try to keep progressing the arm strength? Because that fielding is really, really good, but the arm makes it seem like he's more of a second baseman, I think. Maybe not even a third baseman. He cannot be on the left side of the infield, but we'll see how it plays. Tovar, he's got to work on some of his offense a little bit here. From an OBP standpoint, 295 OBP last year, 287 in 2023. So this is an area that I think for Tovar he's got to get better at. He's got to cut down the strikeout numbers. Obviously the offensive game with power and extra base power with 45 doubles, 26 home runs. I'm going to take that out every single day. And I'm not knocking the guy. I think he's going to be a great player. That's just a part of his game he's got to work at. And I think he'll be, again, a cornerstone piece for us. So Ryan McMahon, I've always loved Ryan McMahon. He's just been one of the most solid, most consistent players across the major leagues, and especially for the Colorado Rockies. The OBP is pretty solid there, 325, 322, 327, 331. Like, this is just what this guy does. He gives you 20-plus home runs, chips in a few stolen bases every now and then, has some good extra base pop, plays some solid defense. He just does what's asked of him to do, right? He's a solid baseball player. I like him. Now, Michael Toglia, he's got all the power in the world. At 26 years old, I think he could really blossom into being a big-time hitter for us. 25 home runs, really took a step up in his offensive production from the last two seasons, 23 and 22. Obviously, the more playing time, he got a lot better. I think he's got a ceiling, but I think he hasn't even peaked quite yet. So he's in age 26 season, 6'5", big guy, natural first baseman. I like Michael Toglia, especially in Coors Field. You know what? Even at that age, like, he could end up being a guy that's more of a platoon dude. Maybe he only gets to about a mid-80s level player with that B potential by the time that he's 30. And that's okay. That's fine. But at least we have that in our pipeline and in our organization that you can address first base down the road. He can be another dude that, he bats switch hitter, but you know what? He does look like he's a little bit better against left-handers than he is against right-handers. So maybe that's kind of the play with Michael Toglia. Now, as far as the pitching staff goes, because we're starting to look at some of these pitchers that are up here, like Jake Woodford, Feltner, Herman Marquez, Scott Alexander. I'm going to address pitching as kind of like a whole group, because when you look at it, guys, there's really nothing to write home about except for Chase Dollander. That's the one guy that I'm really excited about. Everybody else, I mean, it's just a grind squad, guys. I'm not going to lie to you here. C potentials across the way. We don't have a single A potential prospect or player for that matter in any positional group in the entire roster. 93 guys. We have no A potentials. A lot of C's, a lot of D's. B's are sprinkled in here with Gomber and Dollander, but that's it. So pitching as a whole, I'm not going to focus too much on any single player, but this is going to have to be an area that we really scout hard. I think it's a big time area that we need to focus on. Positionally, I think we can work on that a little bit later. So going into this year's draft, I think pitching. That's what we got to hit on. Got to find guys that are young. Got to find guys that have some really good stuff. Velo, break. That's what I'm looking for. So Chase Dollander, pretty much the one guy that I want to highlight here, 23 years old. Obviously, he's one of the Rockies' top prospects, if not the top prospect. But you look at what he's bringing to the table here, a four-seam fastball, 85-mile-an-hour slider, curve, and changeup. Pretty standard pitch repertoire there. But I'm excited about Chase Dollander with that B potential. And at 23 years old, like, depending on how he pitches in the spring here in this series, I think I might be able to call him up and make a case for it. Because really, what else do we have? Who's blocking him? Not really anybody, guys. Not really anybody. Ryan Feltner, though, I want to talk about Feltner because I look at his repertoire and looking at his statistics, that 4.49 ERA, that's pretty solid. Even though the win-loss record is not very good, the dude made 30 starts last season. That's kind of crazy. There's a reliability factor in there. So I kind of like Ryan Feltner for that case alone. He's reliable, he's consistent, and he's got a pretty good pitch repertoire. I like what he can bring to the table here. But again, he starts scrolling through just a little bit. You got Austin Gomber, who is a solid starter, 5-12 last year. Not a lot of walks, only 38 walks, 30 home runs though. That's quite a bit. Got to keep the ball down. Austin Gomber, got to keep it down. Is that the same picture as Feltner? It is. Oh man, they got Gomber and Feltner as the same photo. Oh my god. At least they got Woodford and Jaden Hill, Kyle Freeland. Okay, so there's a little glitch. Gomber and Feltner, there's no difference. I guess a couple guys that I will highlight too that I'd looked at some film of. Sean Sullivan, left-hander. I kind of like this dude a little bit. He's only got a 3-pitch mix, and for a starter, I'd like to see a 4th pitch be developed at some point, but you know that we know that doesn't happen. It's something that I've told San Diego studios might be kind of nice, that every now and then maybe a pitcher has like a breakout, kind of like what they have in Madden, where sometimes you have these little dev trait boosts or whatever. Like you can have that with your pitchers. Like they just in the off season, hey, I discovered a new pitch. What do you want me to learn? And I'm like, oh, Sean Sullivan, you've got a 4-seam slide and a change. What about a cutter? You know, something like that. So it might be kind of nice. But Sean Sullivan, if you look up his stats, he's actually got some pretty good numbers there. A low ERA, strikes out some people, right? He looks like he's pretty solid, but really, other than that, that's about it, guys. That's about all I'm excited for with the pitching staff. Now you got the relievers here: Scott Alexander, Diego Castillo that they signed. He's at 68C. You got Gilbreth. It's not good. It's not good. So when our starters are done, our bullpen comes in and it's just pretty barren. The cupboards are barren. Victor Vodnik, though, B potential guy right here. And that 95-mile-an-hour fastball, slider, circle change down in the 80s. Like to see it. Does walk quite a few batters here, striking out 65, 37 walks. He's going to be a guy that I utilize late in games as a setup dude. So I kind of like that. And we do have a closing battle here. Jake Bird and Tyler Kinley. We might have to address closing pitcher. Maybe Victor Vodnik becomes our closer because it seems like he's got the stuff. You got Jake Bird with 95 slider, sinker, slurve, cutter. I don't know if that's really closer material, but he does have the velo. He does have the break. And then you got Kinley there with a slider, 4-seam, and circle at 34 years old. So the closing pitcher, kind of an issue. Catchers. We don't really have a true catcher outside of Drew Romo. And even so, his fielding isn't really that great for a catcher. I need a guy in the 80s. I need a guy in the 90s. 80 plus with your fielding and arm and accuracy, blocking. We just don't have that. Jacob Stallings not going to throw very many guys out. But he does have some offense in his game, which I kind of like. But even Hunter Goodman's not a guy that I'm really hanging my hat on. At 25, 66C, I think we need to focus on catching at some point down the road. First base, We're not very young at first base. Toglia, that's about it. Farmer, Chris Bryant. It's pretty nuts that we're paying Chris Bryant $26 million a year and he's a 62 overall. That is not a good situation to be in. So I don't even know if a trade would be possible. And quite frankly, even if I did find a trade, what team would be crazy enough to take down that contract with that production level? I'm not sure, but that's an albatross. We're going to have to be dealing with this contract for years to come, guys. It's not going to be a good situation. I am kind of excited about our second base position just because of the youth that we have here with Guerrero and Hill Jr., especially with Amador at a 62B. 21 years old. Got to work on the offensive side of his game, but defensively, I think he can also improve there. He's also got some secondary position at third and short. So I'm excited about that. Only played in 10 games last season. Did have 6 hits. So he was a little productive, but he's definitely needing some more seasoning down there in the minor leagues. Right now, he's on the major league team for spring training, so I'm excited to see how he's going to do, how he's going to play. We also have Owen Miller, who for the Brewers was actually a pretty solid player in his career there. Only had 185 batting average last season, so did not really play all that much. But Cleveland and Milwaukee, he was a pretty solid player. Definitely a bench guy. I don't see really anything to write home about Owen Miller right now, but you never know. You never know. Our shortstop position here with Tovar and Ritter and Carreras. Really, no one's really going to supplant Ezequiel Tovar at shortstop. I don't think. There's nobody really here that's going to challenge him, especially with all these C's and D's and the potential rating. But if we ever drafted a guy or we brought another young guy in at shortstop, maybe, like I said again, Tovar could move over to second base. That's a potential possibility with his arm strength at 71. Now for the outfielders. Even though Fernandez has a C potential and at 65 overall, I still kind of like him. He could be kind of one of those bench guys that every now and then you plug him in, you give one of your starters a day off. 64 speed, he's decent. He could still progress. He's still really young at 22 years old. So we'll see how the progression for Fernandez goes. But, I really like Nolan Jones. I think that he's definitely going to have a bounce-back season. Really showed some promise in 2023. 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases. So that power-speed combination was really cool to see with Nolan Jones on display, but really took a backwards slide in 2024. So I'm thinking he's going to come back strong, and he's got some really nice position eligibility there with the corner infield spots and corner outfield spots as well. He's a corner player. I think he's going to be valuable for us down the road. See our center field setup here. Again, I just don't think anybody's going to challenge Brenton Doyle. You got Greg Jones, 61C. Didn't do too much last year, only 6 games, but you know what? 92 speed, pretty decent defender. He could actually turn into something too, so we'll have to watch out for Mr. Greg Jones. Right fielders, Zach Veen. I saw his pimp job after that home run in spring training, so I'm excited about Mr. Zach Veen here. But that C potential, I think that MLB, the show, that kind of did him a little dirty. He might need to be towards a B potential, but maybe that's just because of his age and his production down in the minors. I'm not sure, but it's a little harsh. Given the potential rating, I think Jordan Beck is probably going to supplant Zach Veen as far as an overall rating goes. They're pretty comparable players when you look at it. Contact rating's about the same. Power, you could probably say it's about the same. Durability is spot on at 75 each. Jordan Beck's got a little bit better of an arm and a little bit better speed, but overall, I think that both these guys are really going to have to duke it out for the right fielder spot. Now, Robert Calaz, 60C at 19 years old, so he's only going to progress. He's only going to get better and get better quick. 60 overall, C potential. He's definitely going to be rising up the boards pretty quickly. So is Charlie Condon. So I'm excited about Charlie Condon. Draft pick out of Georgia last season. Rockies insiders are reporting that he really struggled last year. So we'll have to see what he's going to do in 2025 down in the minors. But I do like Charlie Condon. I think he's definitely got time at 21 years old. So even if we don't see him for the next 3 seasons, I think he's got 3 seasons of some solid development years until he starts making an impact. Now for our Rockies, if we were to call up guys like Dollander, Fernandez, and Amador, maybe even Condon, I have no intentions of doing that. But if we did, we do have promotion incentive for 2025 if we were going to do that. So just something to kind of keep in the back of our mind. Top 100 prospects across the major leagues. I think it's a pretty obvious list for those of you guys that follow the game quite closely. You got Roki Sasaki, you got Rowan Anthony, Walker Jenkins, Christian Campbell. So a lot of Red Sox love right there. Jackson Jobe, Dylan Cruz. Love this list. Really cool to see for franchise mode. Marcelo Mayer, Kobe Mayo, Charlie Condon coming in at 20th. That's awesome to see. So what about our Rockies? Top 20 by organization. So Charlie Condon, they think that he's our best prospect. I would agree with that. I think Dollander, it's close. It's close. I think Dollander is probably the guy that's most ready to come up, though. I mean, it says so right there. Actually, MLB ETA at 2025. They think that Fernandez is also ready in 2025. Pretty interesting list. But when I look at this, I still feel like we need to do a better job of drafting. We got some players that I like Kalaz, Veen, Yanquiel Fernandez, Amador, Dollander, and Condon. I do like Sean Sullivan as well. So there's a couple guys that I think they're going to make an impact for us in a couple seasons. But again, I think this is it's lacking a little juice. Like we need some more juice, some more talent, some more youth. I think we're gonna do a bang up job here when we start drafting. Now I know it's only spring training, but I got to look at the lineup. I got to see what we're bringing to the table when all 9 are put into one lineup. And again, it pretty much just solidifies everything that I was saying. It's just a weak lineup, guys. We got Tovar batting 3rd. And honestly, I had some reservations on this when I first saw it. On first glance, I'm like, there's no way that I can have Tovar number 3. But when you look at the vision rating for even a guy like McMahon or Doyle at 44, at 42, even Togley at 34, Chris Bryant's got our best vision other than Tyro Estrada. Sam Hilliard's got a 20 vision. Like this is not good, guys. So I have no rebuttal to this. I got nothing to say. It has to be Tovar at number 3. Crazy. It's just a weak lineup, guys. I got nothing else to say. I will make some changes here as well, just because I do think that Woodford should be up. I think Dollander should be up. So maybe guys like, I don't know, like Bradley Blaylock should not be up at the major league level. Like we should probably be getting Jake Woodford up there, even Dollander, just to see him in spring. Looking at our pitching rotation now that we did move Woodford up and Chase Dollander up. Pretty crazy, huh? That's Antonio Senzatella is a 59 overall. But we're paying him $10.1 million. Like he has to play. I don't want him to play, but he has to. He's making too much money. If we're trying to be realistic about all this, he has to play. I mean, what's the difference between him and Seth Halverson, right? Look at Halverson, 55 overall, but at least he's got some stuff. 99 on the four-seamer. Crazy, huh? Plus he's got outlier. He could be used. He could be valuable. Anyway, that's a quick look at our starting pitching for spring training. And I'm just excited to get that underway because we do have some position battles, especially with the pitching rotation and with the bullpen as well. Who's going to make the team for the 162-game slog. So, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Leave a like if you like this thing. I'll see you in spring training. We'll do our position battles, and then we'll set up opening day for episode number 3. So, see you guys then. As always, thank you so much for watching, and peace.